Hi students, I am Dr. R. Mahalakshmi, working as Assistant Professor of VU College for Women, Virudhunagar. In this video, we are going to discuss about hire purchase and installment purchase system. So this video helps to know the important concepts regarding this both system. First, we are going to see what is hire purchase. Hire purchase is an arrangement for buying expensive consumer goods where the buyer makes an initial down payment and pays the balance plus interest in installments. யூஸ்வலாக ஹையர் பர்ச்சேஸ் அப்படிங்கிறது நம்ம எப்போ தான் பண்ணுவோம் அப்படின்னா ஒரு எக்ஸ்பென்சிவ் கன்சியூமர் குட்ஸை நம்ம பர்ச்சேஸ் பண்ணும்போது, ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் ஒரு ஆப்பிள் ஐஃபோன், ஒரு கார் வாங்குகிறோம் அப்படின்னா, ஸோ இனிஷியலாக ஒரு டவுன் பேமெண்ட்டாக ஒரு அமௌண்ட்டை கொடுத்துட்டு, இப்போ ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் ஒரு 1 lakh அமௌண்ட்டுக்கு நம்ம ஒரு கம்ப்யூட்டர் வாங்க போகிறோம் அப்படின்னா, ஸோ அதுக்கு நம்ம டவுன் பேமெண்ட்டை ஒரு 10,000 ரூபாய் இனிஷியலாக கொடுத்துட்டு ரிமைனிங் இருக்கிற அமௌண்ட்டை வந்து இன்ஸ்டால்மெண்ட்டாக மந்த்லி கொடுக்குறோம் அப்படின்னா, ஸோ அதுதான் ஹையர் பர்ச்சேஸ். ஸோ இப்போ இங்கே என்ன இருக்கும் அப்படின்னா, நம்மளோட பொசிஷன், அதாவது அந்த குட்ஸை வந்து நம்ம எடுத்துகிட்டு வந்துக்கிடுவோம். பட் அதோட ஓனர்ஷிப் வந்து யாருக்கிட்டே தான் இருக்கும் அப்படின்னா நம்ம செல்லர்கிட்டே தான் இருக்கும். அது எப்போ நம்ம கிட்ட வரும் அப்படின்னா ஆஃப்டர் பேயிங் ஆல் த இன்ஸ்டால்மெண்ட். ஸோ எல்லா இன்ஸ்டால்மெண்ட்டும் நம்ம கட்டினதுக்கப்புறம் தான் ஓனர்ஷிப் வந்து நம்மக்கிட்ட கிடைக்கும். So here we are going to see hire purchase agreement. So the hire purchase agreement la enna irukum appadina hire purchase price of the goods, then cash price. So if the buyer buys the goods for cash appadina adoda cash price enna, then date on which the agreement shall be commenced, then the number of installment of hire purchase price paid. So installment includes cash price and then interest. So that is installment. Then important terms in hire purchase system: cash price. So cash price is the price if the buyer buys that product in cash. Hire purchase price. Hire purchase price usually includes installment, down payment plus interest. Then interest, so monthly amount calculated based on the installment. So usually installment includes interest also. The next one, higher installment, so monthly installment paid by the buyer. Then down payment, initial amount at the time of buying the product. Then hirer, purchaser, hire vendor, seller. Then features of hire purchase. Here under hire purchase, hirer, that is the buyer, gets possession of the goods. Ownership must be in the hands of the seller only. Then buyer can get the ownership only at the payment of last installment. Under hire purchase, the hirer can have the responsibility to keep the goods in good condition. And then installment, they can pay the installment amount as a hire charges to the seller. In hire purchase, the hirer can return the goods to the seller before paying the last installment. Then the hire vendor can have the rights to repossess the goods if the buyer fails to pay any installment on due date. ஸோ இப்போ பையர் டியூ டேட்டில் இன்ஸ்டால்மெண்ட்டை கட்டலை அப்படின்னா வெண்டாருக்கு ரைட்ஸ் இருக்குது அந்த குட்ஸை ரீபோசஸ் பண்ணிட்டு வந்துக்கிறதுக்கு. Then goods repossess, at the time of goods repossession, so this is the calculation can be done by the seller whether they can pay any amount to the hirer. So value of goods plus installment paid minus hire purchase price, that amount can be given by the hire vendor to the hirer. So this is the persons involved in hire purchaser and seller, and then down payment paid first and then hire charges paid at the time of installment. So the hire purchase is an agreement between the hire purchaser and seller. Buyer pay down payment and then pay hire charges in every month. with cash and then find out the cash price, and then totally it is higher purchase price. Then installment purchase system. Here an agreement entered between the buyer and seller. An advance and down payment is paid and possession as well as ownership in the goods is transferred to the buyer. The buyer agrees to pay the balance amount due in a specified number of installment along with agreed rate of interest. So both the installment purchase system and hire purchase system more or less same, but here we have some of the difference and we see it later. So if the buyer fails to pay any installment, the seller cannot repossess the goods. But in hire purchase, the hire vendor can have the rights to repossess the goods. But under installment system, the seller can claim the amount by file a case in court for recover their dues. So this is the difference between hire purchase and installment purchase system. Basis, nature of agreement. An agreement of hiring with the option to buy. But under installment system, an agreement to sell. Transfer of ownership. In hire purchase, ownership can be transferred only at the time of final installment. Under installment system, the ownership immediately transferred at the time of signing of the agreement. Number of parties. In both the cases, 2 parties are involved, but under hire purchase system, the parties are called as hirer and hire vendor, and in an installment system, buyer and seller. The relationship between hirer and hire vendor is bailor and bailee, and the relationship between buyer and seller is called as debtor and creditor. Then risk of loss. Hirer is not responsible if there is any loss in that particular product, but under an installment system, buyer only responsible because the ownership is transferred until the agreement is entered. Then right of sale. The hirer cannot sell the goods under hire purchase, but the buyer has the right to sell the goods. Repossession of goods. Already we discussed this. Hire vendor can repossess the goods if the installment is not paid. But in an installment system, seller cannot repossess the goods. He can sue the buyer for dues. Then termination of agreement. In hire purchase system, hirer can terminate the agreement by returning the goods. But in installment systems, the buyer cannot terminate the agreement. Installment. Each installment includes charges and part payment of cash price. Here also, each installment includes interest and part payment of cash price. So, Act governing. Hire purchase governed under Hire Purchase Act 1972. Installment purchase governed under Sales of Goods Act 1930. Thank you. I hope you understand the basic concepts regarding hire purchase and installment purchase system.